Hey guys, Jacqueline Hawkins here with Women's Hockey Life Academy, where we help players and families navigate the recruiting process and earn scholarship money. Had an interesting conversation this afternoon with the ACHA D1 coach at Lindenwood-Belleville University, Kat Hanna. Picked her brain a little bit just about how she got into hockey coaching, what the recruiting process is like, explaining the ACHA versus NCAA, the whole 9 yards. So I wanted to share that here with you guys today. It is audio only, so you can kind of listen wherever, in your car, on your phone, whatever works for you. So I'll jump right in here and you guys enjoy. Yeah, I guess we'll just kind of get started a bit with your playing background and who you are and how you got into the game and all that stuff. But when and how did you get started?
Well, for me, it was a little bit different. And I played a lot of different sports growing up, but it really did start when I was probably like 4 or 5 years old. And I had knee issues from a really small age. And it was at the point where it was either surgery or I had to work on something. And the doctors really did recommend both swimming and hockey. And so at 5 years old, that's kind of how it started for me. And I went back and forth with the two sports pretty much all the way through to college because I did swim my first 2 years. Okay. And then I started the hockey program actually at Lindenwood's main campus. So Belleville didn't exist until 2009. And yeah, so I went there. I went to Lindenwood's main campus in 2001. I swam for 2 years there, 2001, 2002. In 2003, I was actually looking to transfer out to play D1. And, I saw a ton of different sports teams kind of just popping up at Lindenwood. And we started talking to administration about what it would look like as far as bringing a team in. And, we got it done that year. So in 2003 was the first year on Lindenwood's main campus. And that was an ACHA team. And then so 2003 was the first year. 2006 was the first national championship. Then 2008, 2009, 2010, and then they went NCAA D1. Wow. My last year there was in 2008.
Okay.
So I swam my first 2 years, and then from 2003 to 2008, which we have 5 years eligibility instead of 4.
Yep.
I was able to finish my undergrad and then also get my master's degree through with the 5 years.
Yep. Okay, that makes sense.
So that's yeah.
Yeah. So have you seen a difference then from when you went through the recruiting process as a player to now you being a coach at Lindenwood-Belleville? Like, has the process changed that much, and if so, how?
Well, and there's some places where I'm a little bit different here, so I don't want I was looking to go to playing a number of different sports. So, and it is kind of unique, I was looking at softball, swimming, and hockey, and at the time, the recruiting process for all three was very different. And based on where I was at that time of my life, hockey was not the number one. Because again, I went back and forth on that. And then when I actually chose and ended up at Lindenwood with swimming, which was kind of all by fluke, I ended up really missing the game, and then I haven't turned around from there. So I will say, just watching the process to begin with as a player and seeing my coach and how often he went out recruiting and what that kind of looked like,
yep.
It's pretty different. I mean, we do probably about 5 trips a year.
Recruiting trips?
Recruiting trips, yeah. We're usually in Beantown. We do the Stony Creek trip. We come out to provincials. Most of this, to be honestly, since I've kind of taken over, I think I've signed 2 Americans, maybe 3 Americans. The rest are all Canadians.
Interesting.
Yes.
Why is that? Why do you think that is?
I think because, well, I have my opinions, but I think that, honestly, like there's a stigma with the ACHA, and in the United States a little bit more than Canada. I think the approach is more of, let's just play some hockey. I do believe that it does exist in Canada as well, but there's a lot of players who just want to play.
Yep.
And the thing is if you can't you're chasing that dream of NCAA D1, but if you don't reach that goal, and it's tough because of how many scholarships are actually available and the percentages and what you're up against and what you're looking at. But if you're not in that upper echelon of those however many scholarships are being offered, then we're competing with NCAA Division III, and then it's really about the needs of the student with the exchange. Our tuition's low, and we offer good competitive packages. And so for a Canadian who wants the American experience and doesn't go NCAA D1, we're probably the most affordable option thereafter. And once they start seeing the hockey, and I'm very honest with the process,
yeah.
I think they realize once they get on the ice and they come and skate and we get them on campus, I think we have a really high percentage once we get them on campus. Because once we get them seeing the level of hockey, it really kind of solidifies, okay, this isn't just club hockey kind of thing. Some programs certainly are. And I would say the same thing, like depending on what NCAA team or, in Division III you end up on it's the same thing with the ACHA. Like you end up on a top team, very different than if you're for a non-funded, really club ran team. And that certainly does exist. So I think that is also one of the issues that we do fight.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So you just said two things right there that I want to touch on a little bit more that some of our listeners may not know. One, you said that when you can bring players in and when they skate with the team. So that's something that's unique to the ACHA versus NCAA. They're not allowed to do that, whereas you guys can. Is that typically what you would do with a recruit that you're interested in?
Yeah, because, and again, so basically, like when I'm at recruiting trips, I really do try to respect the overall kind of rules and regulations but I also am up against a lot as well. So I have to take advantage of some of the things that I'm able to do. Yeah. And when I'm going after top players, because we really do try to go after some players that maybe people would think that we shouldn't be, or, I've been told there's no chance. I mean, I just signed somebody that there's no chance and heck, you're getting this girl and now she's here. So, and again, don't go after Canadians because they have too many options and those sort of things. And again, like it's fighting an uphill battle. And I forgot what the original question was, Jacqueline.
No, I was just talking about just the fact that you can actually.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yes, I'm getting on the ice. Yep. But yeah, I do. So and again, because that's the biggest thing. That's what I'm fighting. No, well, how what's the level of talent? Well, come see it. Because if that's my biggest fight and I can use that, so then get on and feel the culture, see how we take care of them, see how we run a practice. What do you actually, how do you think a practice is ran? How do you run? And when you come here and realize that you're getting what you're getting in some with your current team and that you can see the level, it makes a big difference. And usually what I do is just, we do a lot of competitions on those days because I want those girls to compete. I want to see what they're up. I want them to just right up, straight up. Yep. And, and if you're fast, you're going to go up against our fastest girl and let's see what's up and just kind of make them get that feeling of, yeah, I can compete here and it's going to push me, but I can still have a good balance.
Yep. No, absolutely. Absolutely. That makes complete sense. It is a good advantage that you guys have that NCAA doesn't from a recruiting perspective. The other thing that you mentioned just in that last little segment there, you're talking about the financial aid packages and how you're able to get Canadians. Because I know a lot of Canadians won't even look at the U.S. because of the exchange rate and just how expensive it is. So you said obviously it's Lindenwood-Belleville. It's a competitive tuition rate, but you also offer good financial aid packages. Yeah. Is it all need-based? Are there any scholarship opportunities other than academic and some random ones you can find?
Yeah, so with Lindenwood, it's a little bit different, and I always like to be careful with how I deliver this because I think that some people it can be misunderstood for sure. So what Lindenwood does that I think is a little bit different than everyone else is maybe not different than everybody else, but different from under my understanding. What we do is we package both academically and we have a LU talent grant. The LU talent grant is not something you pay back. It's not need-based. So you could play the piano or you could be a hockey player as long as it's open to every single student.
Okay.
Does everybody that have an opportunity to have access to these funds? So if you have, it's called a talent grant. So whatever your talent is, and yeah, it's competitive, especially based on, our tuition right now is $25,600 all in. That's tuition, room and board, meal plans, all of it. And then again, I want to be careful with numbers, but we're on average, we're between, I would say and I'm going to be really loose with this because again, I don't want to be held down to anything, but between 11 and 14,000 is probably on average. Now there's kids that certainly get more than that, and there's kids that get less than that. But when you're looking at 25 being your kind of base, and then you take 12 to 14 on average, somewhere in that range, then and we're fully funded. That's the other thing. So you're not paying to play hockey. We try to model as much as we can off NCAA. They're fully they're fully supported. They get all the equipment. The goalies get all the gear. They walk in and they have their own locker room. They have their own stalls. The whole 9 yards kind of thing. And that's what we've worked towards here. I tell you, it wasn't always like that. That's for sure. My first year in the ACHA, I was we were literally in a closet with some chairs and did the best to get by. But it's really grown a lot. And the schools that have financial backing are really ran ran well and ran in a competitive nature.
That's kudos to you. Obviously, you've done a lot with that program, so pat yourself on the back with that one. Well done.
Thank you. We're working.
Yeah, no, it's good. That's
find
good.
any ways we can and make build the best team, but also I've learned a tremendous amount over the last couple of years, and the recruiting part of things is, you hear a lot of coaches talk to players, and for me it's an entire balance, and it's not just about hockey. It really isn't about me and this program, and that's it. It is about it is about the student athlete, and I say that all the time to them from the get-go. Whether it's helping you connect you to a different school or our school, we'll do whatever we can to find the best fit for you. I put that out there absolutely right away. I think it's incredibly important for kids and parents alike to explore their options, ask a ton of questions, make sure they're feeling supported and informed throughout these processes. And I think a lot of times kids are a little bit, and parents are, they don't understand, they don't know. And they go on the word of, one or two people, and that can run us into some trouble sometimes. So for me, it's just putting out that honest kind of platform, opening up communication, talking as much as we possibly can together, finding out what your needs are, what the family's needs are. And then if we can match that, great. If not, then I try my best to connect them to a place that's going to serve them or suit them better. Same thing with talented kids. There's some kids that come along and they want to, if they even want, like, I'll give an example. I had a really great a girl looking to come here from Penn's Elite, great player. She wanted to be an engineer, and for whatever reason, she really wanted to come here. I'm like, no, like, I would love to have you, but that is so much more important than coming to play. Like that's your career, that's your life. And I've seen people do that. I almost did that myself. And, I think our job is to really support these students both on and off the ice and create that balance, which it's finding the right kid that needs and wants that too.
Yeah, it gets back to integrity, which
right.
You have that, so it's awesome. You don't see it all the time. The fact that you have it, and you're willing to help the player first, not just your program. It's huge. It speaks volumes to what you're doing there. So again, kudos to you. I love hearing this.
Thank you.
Can we just take a step back for a second, and shame on me for not starting with this, but just what is the ACHA? For those that have no idea what it is, they've heard of NCAA. Like what? Yeah. Who are you? What do you guys do? How many divisions do you have?
Yeah, so ACHA is the American Collegiate Hockey Association. Believe it started like in the 90s. Right now on the women's side, there's Division I and Division II. I don't know how many divisions there are in Division II, to be perfectly honest with you. In Division I, there's 3, Central, Western, and Eastern. But there are also a few independent teams as well. So I'll tell you right now, and that's how it is standing as we speak. I will say, looking ahead and big picture, and this is not for sure, but I can see some restructuring for sure across the board. There's a lot of teams based out of Michigan. The Central's kind of, we're applying to get into the Central right now. We're in the Western Division. Western Division has East and West. Central Division's just one big Central Division. So there's some discrepancy between the divisions and how playoffs work. So for example, this past weekend, the Western Division, we had pool play. I don't necessarily, it's great because you get more opportunity, but you're playing 4 games in 3 days in a playoff situation that's going to put you in a national tournament, which it can be tough.
Yes.
The Central does it a little bit different. Seed 1 and Seed 2 get buys, and then 2 and 4 or 2 and 1 and 2 get, and then so it's so that the other 4 are playing each other. Sorry, the other 4 are playing each other. And then they, you go on from there. So I think that's a smarter way of doing things. But again, I think we'll learn a lot in Naples, and I think you'll see a restructure of the ACHA if not next year, over the next couple of years.
Okay.
Because the Eastern teams too, that's the issue. Is the Eastern teams we have right now, we have Penn State, URI, and UMass. So there's only 3 teams up there. Yep. So how do you have a playoff tournament with that? So, but that's the issue we run into. That consistency within the ACHA, and unfortunately that comes because Northwestern can have a team, or Boston College that might only be there for 2 or 3 years, depending on the students that are coming in and out of there, because those are kids that are legitimately walking on to a club team. Yep. It's ran that way. You pay the money, you're playing a few, and it's student ran. So you really have to do your research on what programs you're looking at. Some are student ran and some are not. And there's as far as I know, so that's why I say it.
Yeah, this is good. This is good.
you know, if you're looking at, and again, this is not to put it's certainly not to put anybody down, but if you're looking at, I'll use Wisconsin, for example, in our division, they're a student-ran based program. Minnesota is as well. Minnesota is a national bound team. But they are student-ran. They don't have that funding and the full support, and you're paying to play and that sort of thing. But then there's teams like Liberty, Adrian, Lindenwood, Midland University, Aquinas that offer, Davenport that have support. And depending on what programs you get into, so it really is. And trust me, from a administrative side of things, it can be very difficult having both funded and non-funded teams competing for the same thing, because you do run yourself into some issues. And
logistically, everything. Yeah, absolutely.
On both sides of things, you know, both for the funded teams, there's a lot of frustrations, and I think there's a lot of frustrations for the teams that aren't funded. So again, I think when we're looking big picture, there's a lot we can do here, but it's going to just depend on how many other schools are willing and looking to support their teams down the road.
Yep, and that gets all back to what does the student athlete want? What do they want out of their university experience? And then that right there, something that's student run versus something that's funded is going to change that experience for you.
Absolutely, no doubt.
Perspective and even the student perspective. So I know a lot of parents or even players ask the question, you know, if I want to get into nursing or be an engineer or you know, I've got to do clinical hours, am I going to be able to be a hockey player as well as my academics? So these are all questions that come into play with what the program offers and how funded or not funded they are and the commitment level. So this is good. I like this. There's a lot of good.
And it's also just I think the willingness, we have more flexibility with working with kids in that way too. Like if I have a student who's coming here playing 2 years and then, and I have no issues signing a girl to come play for 2 years, and then she's going to go to Goldfarb and get into her actual nursing degree. But with that 5 years, that's the other thing, you can be creative within that, because now, and I'll just use nursing because you brought it up, for example, I can have a student come in with the goal of being a nurse. She can get an undergrad in 4 years in biology and then do an accelerated 18-month program, play for 5 years, walk out with a biology major and a nursing degree.
That's awesome.
And you know, and then you look at that big picture cost and comparison to how much you're going to be paying for that in other places, and you get to really and then again, the other thing, and this is important, I think you'll like this part of it as well, and I think more schools are doing this now, but when you sign that package and it's good for 5 years. If you don't want to play after year 2 and you're in good standing, you don't have to. That is safe. If you get injured, if you decide you need to take a year off, if you're in a major and it's getting too difficult for you, you know, if God forbid you break your legs, whatever the case may be, that money's safe and sound. You don't have to worry about it. It doesn't matter if the team gets great, whatever, that's yours. We don't take that away from them.
That's awesome. That's sign bounding and everything.
Yeah, it's just secure as well for the kids. And then, like I mentioned, I recruit a lot of Canadians, so that's important for them to know. Like, if they're coming this far, you know, can we transfer the credits back? And, you know, can I use my degree back in Canada? What happens if, you know, we get injured? Those types of things. And you hear horror stories all the time. And that's one of the things that I think, I mean, it can work in both ways, because you can get stuck with some people, you know, but for the most part, come on, it's their education. And if it's not a right fit in a team, that's one thing. It's still about making sure that they're getting what their ultimate goal was of coming here. And that's getting educated and being ready to take on this world in Absolutely. 4 or 5 years, you know?
They're a student first, athlete second. That's why they're called a student athlete. It's that way for a reason. But so can I just kind of, I guess, switch gears a little bit and just get more to back to the recruiting process? Obviously, the NCAA Division I level, kids are committing grade 9, grade 10. Division III, typically more grade 11 can start happening in grade 10, even up in Canada. I mean, there's kids committing in grade 10 to Canadian schools. Yep. What's your process? When does it start?
Well, I've only been here for 3 years. So in those 3 years, and I'll tell you, in those 3 years, it's changed a lot, because my first year, I stepped in literally in September, and my recruiting goal was 12 that year. I'd never done it before in my life. So we had, and you know, that's like, I was just like, you know, you go out there by yourself and it's pretty daunting to begin with. And at that point in time, I'm just looking for anybody who's not committed. Like, all right, who's not committed? I'm just talking to people. I'm trying to make those connections, talk to coaches, talk to players, get the name out there, follow up with my word, you know, that sort of thing, and really create a base, which we've been, I think, pretty successful in doing, both with me and my assistant coach this year. I think we've worked really hard at that.
Yep.
This year our recruiting goal is 14. So we're if we sign everybody that's committed, I think we've reached our goal there, and now we're starting to look ahead. So the first 2 years, it was like, okay, we're going like whoever's not committed that year, and we're going for it.
Yep.
Now we're starting to look ahead. It's not much though. It's just so we're looking at 2019. We've got a lot of people on the board. We're looking ahead now to 2020. Now it's starting to get into that mode for us.
Okay.
But we're just there now.
Okay.
I will say I'm sure that some other ACHA programs that have been at this a little bit longer than I have are probably a year or two ahead of that. But I will tie this in. I do go after people that I feel are really talented that might have been overlooked, might not have got that NCAA D1 opportunity, but now they're in the mix they're just up for grabs between us, CIS, or NCAA. And when anytime a student athlete, and especially if they're very talented, I want to respect their goals and their dreams. And, as an ACHA program, I do understand where I'm at, and I try to be self-aware within that completely. And also, like, you don't ever want to insult someone either, so I try to really have a balance between that. And so I can watch a kid for a year or two, and then, when she's still maybe not committed and it's that last year, now I'm going, because now she's probably been a little bit more informed about what the realities are. Mm-hmm. And we can really I think we do have a dog in the fight once that D1 is kind of off the table. And it just becomes what's important to that student athlete in particular. Whether it's finances, their education, a combination of those things. Is it just NCAA? Like, what are your goals? What are your dreams? What are your needs? What are your wants? And then when we go from there, then it's just finding the right fit. So I don't think one's any better than the other. I really don't. I just think it's depending on what the needs of the student athlete are, and what they want, and what the family can afford, and also all that kind of thing.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And are you strictly looking at like the tier 1 AAA players, or is it tier 2 AA? Like, obviously a lot of Canadian players. So honestly, I will respond to anything. And if anybody reaches out, if anybody has a question, if anybody's interested in the program, I will always go and look. I'll always respond to an email, talk, just at least, because the other thing is if they're not a fit here, maybe they can get a different program, yep. That's funded. Maybe they can, and at least get it out there, like we said. But, no, I definitely go after, the AAA tier 1, but I will always spend some time in the other rinks as well. I think it's really important. I've got a lot of players there. There's a lot of talented players in tier 2 that just get overlooked simply because they're tier 2. I think that a lot. I can't tell you how many times I walk into a tier 2 rink and I'm the only one there. And how many players and whether it's just snagging 1 per year or 2 per year that are really good players, yeah. Then it's still 1 or 2 per year that you're taking and that you're given an opportunity to. The other thing is we do carry a high roster number. I think we're known for that, whether we like it or not. And so you got to find role players too, and you got to find the right ones. And there's a lot of kids that want to be a part of a team. And if they know their role and they understand what their role is, and they want that opportunity, I look for that too. So you're hilarious. You're nailing it right in the head. I preach that a lot in the course we teach is don't try and be something you're not. If you're a stay-at-home defenseman, if you're a winger who blocks shots, don't try and be something you're not. Be who you are.
Yep.
A great coach will find you. It's huge.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, that's a huge thing. And again, as coaches, knowing the role of that player and being on this, I think the other thing is just be honest with them about what that is. Like, I'm not bringing kids in from Canada and saying, oh yeah, you're going to get, there are kids that I know for sure that are going to play. There's no doubt about it. Are your top players, but those kids that are going to be fighting for 3rd or 4th line spots, when we have 10D and our top 6 are tight, you're going to be having to work to get in. But it's a good problem to have too. But, and then there's the role players where it's like you're really going to have to be working hard to get yourself in the lineup. And can you do it? And then there are opportunities, and we're going to work with you. And that's my job and our job as a staff here to get those players to improve over the 4 years. But they also know their roles. So like I said, we do our best to be honest up front and then follow through with what we say. Yep. And I think that's what's really helped us in our culture here and having standards that we kind of stick by.
That's awesome. And are there certain skills or intangibles that you look for in your players? I mean, obviously there's role players, but
again, yeah, I mean, I can say the same things that most people look for, but right now, personally for me in my goal, and competitive. You probably know that.
Yes, oh, I know you.
But, sometimes I think for me right now, I want that compete level. We have an excellent team, and sometimes I think that the factor that kind of lacks is that compete factor, and that when you don't have the energy that day, or when you're not feeling great that day, or when it's not your best, how do you get yourself to just play that game you love and do it with some tenacity, even though you're not, maybe you got to find the energy and just that love, that, that passion for the game. And you're not always, it doesn't always have to be the best players. When you find the best players that also have that, that's special. But I will work with people that have that maybe are a little bit less talented. And I probably wouldn't have said that 3 years ago.
Interesting.
So, that's huge for us. I think that's some of the biggest battles we do fight with the ACHA. I think some kids do sign and I want to play good hockey, but they think it's going to be a lot more relaxed than it actually is, because I'm not playing around here, but I do want to have fun too. And I do want to recognize when they need a break. And I do want to give them some time to make some mistakes on their own and learn. Mm-hmm. I do want to have that. I really try to create that rich balance for them.
Good.
And have them make some decisions for themselves as well.
Awesome. And you just said the word break, so it made me think of what kind of breaks there are actually in a day for a student athlete or anything. Can you just walk me through what a typical day is for one of your student athletes?
Sure. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, usually they're going to class between about 8 a.m. and 1. We're on the ice. We do have a rink off campus, so we're on the ice at from 2:30 to 4, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We do have the ice from 2 to 4. We also have the opportunity, we can skate. We have flexibility within how often we skate. So we could skate every day. So we will add morning practices if we need to, that type of thing. But typically we go Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We have our games on the weekends. And then Tuesdays and Thursdays, we do classroom video. And then they have a strength and conditioning program that they follow, that they do. When they're not in season, it's 3 to 4 times a week. When they are in season, it's either 2 or 3, depending on where we're at in the season, how hard we're pushing. If we're, if it's coming towards nationals, we're tapering a little bit more, that sort of thing. So, but typically that's what a regular week looks like. They're going to class, like I said, 8 to 1.
Yep.
Monday, Wednesday, Friday, they're on the ice. Tuesdays, Thursdays, they go to class and they're in classroom, do team workouts, and we kind of go from there.
And do they ever take classes at night after that, or can they get it all done in the morning?
Yeah, no, it's really, you can build it how you want. We certainly have opportunities to take classes at night, take classes online, or most of the students, they'll do it. They get it done usually by 1 o'clock. Okay. And we have students too. Like I have a couple, because the school's not huge. And there's going to be some, there's some of my players that don't get out of class till 2:15. So, mm-hmm. We just work with those kids. They got to be on the ice by 3. Gives you a half hour to get there, and that's when you're late. And then we go hard with them from 3 to 4. If we can skate them a little bit after, or catch them up on some things they missed, we do that. But yep. Those are just those things that with our programs, we have to be flexible with. Those are, we don't have all the tools and everything that, some other programs have as far as NCAA. And I think that's probably the main difference is what do we have to work with? There's 2 of us. You go look at a team photo in any NCAA team. There's not 2 coaches sitting there. That's for sure. So,
Yeah. No, and I was going to ask you about that. Like, what is an advantage playing, ACHA versus NCAA, and the differences and resources obviously is one of them. You're nailing it. Strength coach, academic advisor, whatever it may be. You just said there's 2 of you.
Yeah. So, but that's the thing. If you do your job well, so like I went out and I found a guy out in the western side that just loves hockey, and he's a good man. He does a lot of recruiting for me out there. He's a volunteer. I have a goalie coach who's been in the business for like 20 or 30 years. I think he said he volunteers, but he brings a lot of experience to the table as well. Mm-hmm. He's been like in the hockey industry for like I said 30 years, but he's also a man, and he's an older man, and he brings a whole different feel. And he's volunteer. So yeah. There's 4 or 5 of us that kind of work together. We do have an AT that's actually full time with us. We do connect them with academic advisors and those sort of things. But it's the 2 of us kind of connecting them to all these different resources that they have. And if we don't stay on top of it, that can fall by the wayside very quickly.
Absolutely.
So yeah, absolutely. Resources is certainly one thing as far as just manpower is concerned. But again, ways around it for sure. You just got to be a little bit more creative and
yes,
and just stick to it a little bit more. So
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, this has been great. I really appreciate you taking time doing this. I mean, I guess just a general, is there any advice or input that you would give to players, parents watching this that could help them kind of navigate this recruiting process?
It's ask the biggest thing, and just from and it's 3 years of experience, but ask questions. It's what, and when I went through it myself, I didn't. I thought I knew exactly what I wanted, and I ended up on a campus, and I was like, what is going on? I hadn't, but I didn't know, or I thought I knew everything. And and you think, oh yeah, it's the name of the school, or it's the name of that program, or whatever it is. Well, is that a fit for you? Yes, it could be a great hockey team, or a great coaching staff. Is it does the student athlete connect with the coach too? Like, that's a really, really imperative thing, in my opinion. That's your person, and you got to be able to be honest with each other, and have kind of an open relationship. And of course, you have those lines, but you want to be able to have, in my opinion, open communication with your student athletes, and have them be comfortable to come to you if they're experiencing things, or they need some help with something, or whatever the supports that they need are. Having that two-way street of communication. So for me, it's parents and students alike. I don't know, I've seen some coaches that don't really like to deal with parents too much. For me, I want the parent to, if you're going to send your kid, however many million, miles away, and you're going to be paying the top dollar and all this other stuff, then I want you to know, I want you to be comfortable too. And it's so important that you're not feeling like you're being a pain in the butt by asking the questions. Call, text, email, whatever is comfortable for you. When it is, you do it. For at least that's kind of how we do it here. I want people to be comfortable with the decision that they're making, and that they know what they're walking into, and that we're transparent and supportive, and do the best we can that way. So again, the biggest thing for me would just be explore your options. Like, if you think exactly what, go someplace else and make sure that it is what you want. Visit the campus if you can. If you can't visit the campus, ask a ton of questions. Be vigilant in that. Do your research, and just make sure it's someplace that you can see yourself being really successful.
Awesome. Kat, this has been amazing. I appreciate your time. I won't take up too much time. I know you guys have nationals coming up soon. One of 8 teams going to it. So I'm sure you've got lots to get going and organized, and good luck at that. And if there's anything else you want to add, by all means. Otherwise, thanks again, and we'll touch base soon.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for the time. I really appreciate it. It's nice seeing you too.
Yeah, you too. We'll touch base again soon.
All right. Bye.
Take care. So there it is, guys. If you have any questions, feel free to post them in the comments below this video. If you need help navigating this process, please, by all means, reach out. I will also post a link to book a call with me or someone from my team. We are here to help you. We want to help you. If you're having trouble figuring out what that goal is, what your university goal is, or how to obtain it, how to get to it, if you want help finding that school that fits your needs, please reach out. We're here to help. We want to help. Again, I'll put that link in the comments below, and if you have questions, post away. Take care, guys.